Okay, so for the following exercise, use this scenario. Two different telephones carrier offer the following plans that a person is considering: company A and company B. So we are looking at, there are two scenarios, which is the first one is going to be company A has that, and company B. So again, at this time, as I told you guys the other day, probably it's a little bit harder for you guys to grasp this because nowadays we have all our services are like unlimited kind of stuff, right? But back in the day, anybody remember when they used to have 250 night and day? No, like weekdays and unlimited weekends minutes. Anybody remember that? Or you guys are too young? Yes, no.
I remember my mom having it.
Yeah, because we had to be like, you have only 250 minutes to deal with for the entire month as a phone call, and that is from Monday 7 a.m. all the way to Friday 6 p.m. or 9 p.m. depending which one you have. And what we had was nights, I think from 9 p.m. all the way to 6 a.m. in the morning. It is free. Weekend starts like about 9 o'clock on Friday all the way to Monday 6 a.m. used to be included. So that used to be considered as free, but Monday to Friday during work hours you have only 250 minutes. And think about it now. And texting was actually uh, there was a limited amount of text that you can make, and then after that it was like about 10 cents for each text that was going. So it was a big deal between company A, company B. Verizon will offer you certain things, and then Metro was not even there. Like a T-Mobile will offer something, and another company will offer something. So you have to say which one works for you, depending what type of job you do. If you are a person who works during the weekend, any company would work because weekend most of them are were already unlimited. But if you are a person that like in a real estate where you have to make a lot of phone calls, delivery, whatever, then you have to decide which company works for you and so on. So if you think about that kind of scenario over here, we have two companies. So we have company A has a monthly fee of $20 and charge 5 minutes for every call. So if we call it, let's say, let's call this one Bill A and Bill B. So if I consider Bill A by company A and Bill B, somebody help me how to set it up. Bill A, it says their monthly fee is what? $20 to start with, and meaning they're going to add charge for what? 5 cents for every call. It's not by minute, for per minute actually, 5 cents per minute. So it's going to be 0.5 per minute. Company B has a monthly fee of $5. Whether you use it or not, you're going to pay $5. But they charge how much? 10 cents. Just careful that we don't write it. And actually, I made a mistake right here. This is not 5 cents. This is 50 cents. So it should be 0.5. This one is 0.10, 10 cents per every minute. So
So, so sorry. Can I have a question?
I'm listening.
Okay, so I have this my first attempt. Then I'm like, okay, but where's the equal sign? And I'm like, okay. But I put so for what I wrote, I put like 12 plus 0.5 because
Where do you get 12?
12 months. I mean, for I mean monthly. I mean 12 months in a year.
I think you're thinking too much.
Yeah.
a little bit easier than that.
Okay. All right.
So,
I think I was started overthinking this problem.
gotcha. So the first one, it says find the model for the what? For the company A. So this will be number 9. That's our model. And then it says find the model for company B. This will be number 10. And that's it. We're not doing anything with those two. But it says over here, it says number 11 says find out how many minutes of calling would make the two plans equal, which means company 1 and company 2, when are they going to be equal? So in other words, when is this bill is going to be equal to this bill, which means when is bill A going to be equal to bill B? So in other words, I know what bill A is. Bill A is what? It is $20 plus 0.05 per minute. Bill B is $5 plus 0.10, 10 cents per minute. So in other words, I'm going to make the two bills equal, trying to see when are they going to be equal. So first thing first, let's go ahead and solve this one. Let's gather our minutes to one side and our cash to one side. So this is small, so let's take this one, 0.05 m, take away 0.05 m equally from both sides, and let's do it at the same time. If I take away 5 from this side, take away 5, take away 5. So together, I'm going to end up with 20 to take away 5 will be $15. This becomes 0. This becomes 0. And then 10 cents take away 5 cents, it would be 0.05 m. Then let's go ahead and divide it by 0.05, 0.05, and m is equal to what? If you are okay with calculators, I don't care. But at the same time, if you want to know how to divide this by hand, you have 15 divided by 0.05. So if you want to know the technique, it would be 1, 2. If I move the decimal twice, over here, the decimal was over here. I'm going to move it 1, 2 to the right. So this decimal, this fraction can be written as 1,500, because I'm going to be moving the decimal all the way over there, divided by 5. So it's going to be 1,500 divided by 5. It should give me 300. So the question is not over here. It says find out how many minutes of calling would make the two plans equal. So which means if both of them start making up to 300, there was a difference, but at 300 minutes, then both of them are going to charge the same amount. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's go ahead and see if this even makes sense. Now it says if the person makes a monthly average of 200 minutes of call, which plan should the person take? So in other words, I'm going to take the 200 minutes and I'm going to plug it into this question and into this question to see which one is a cheaper deal, because one of them, they start with $20, but they start charging me 5 cents for every call, for every minute. The other one, they start with cheaper $5, but actually they charge me 10 cents for every minute that I make a phone call. So depending which one is going to be, if the person makes about 200-minute calls, then which one is cheaper? Then go ahead, plug it in and see what our answer is going to be. So if I clear this one, the first one is $20 plus 5 cents, 0.05 times 200 minutes. This one is going to be $30 if the person makes only 200 minutes. The other one is going to be, it's going to start $5 plus what? They're going to charge him 10 cents. Let's go ahead, 0.0, 10 cents times 200 minutes. and this one is going to be $25. So which one is going to be cheaper for that person than option B or company B? Is it, what do they call it? Yeah, company B would be the cheaper one, because one of them is going to be $25, the other one is going to be $30. Does this make sense a little bit?
Yeah, it does.
Heather?
Yes, it makes sense.
And if you want to think about like in a graphic form, just like for the sake of this, let's go ahead and say the first one, y is equal to $20 plus 5 cents for every minute. So we're not going to see anything because before I start, automatically they are charging me how much? They are charging me already $20. So if I didn't make any phone calls, I'm going to pay only $20. But the more I make a phone call, the more for every minute that I make a phone call is going to be that. It's going to increase. The more you use it, the more it increases. The other company, it starts at $5 plus, but they charge us 10 cents for every minute. So they start at low over here, while this one is starting at 20. But the more you make a phone call, this one is like, you can even see how it is tilted. This one grows a little faster than this one. This one is a slow growth, but it is nevertheless it's still a growth. So let's go ahead and see X values. Let's go ahead and make it up to 500. Our Y value, instead of, let's go ahead and make it 50. So you can see this one is going to go slow growth. So this was cheaper until when? At 300 minutes, both of them are going to be charging about $35. After that, which one is cheaper? The one that starts with $20 actually is going to be cheaper because they charge us 5 cents for every minute, when this guy is charging us 10 cents for every minute. Does this make sense?
Yes.
And the other one was, the question was, if the person makes only 200 phone call, 200 minutes, which one is cheaper? This was $25. This one was $30. So definitely option B is cheaper. So you can use the graphing technique to answer the question, but the understanding is, how do we deal with models of this type of question? Another question, I'm listening. 3, 2, 1. Again, I am always willing to listen for questions rather than going to the next topic. If you don't have any questions, I am going to go. All right. All right, we're looking at chapter 2.6, and we are going to look at absolute value in this section, only absolute values. What are absolute values? So absolute value. So this is our symbol. Our symbol is going to be 2 vertical lines. If X is written over there, the absolute, I can write this. That's the way we read it. So what is an absolute value? Basically, absolute value is, if you think about
Wait,
topics,
excuse me.
I am listening.
Is absolute value like a pair? That's what I was thinking of, like a pair or something.
Absolute value, it is this symbol. It's a vertical line. It is a type of inclusion. We have, not to confuse, we have parentheses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have brackets. and we have brace. And these are the type of inclusion that we have. But at the same time, absolute value also, vertical line, it falls under that. But it has a little bit more than what parentheses, bracket, or parentheses can brace can do, because absolute values have a meaning, which means the best way to understand absolute value is time and distance. So as an example, now I'm at in my office over here, and if I say the distance from Bloomfield College all the way to Newark, right? If I say the distance from here to here, let's go ahead and say this is 0. Let's go ahead and say over here, but it's 7 miles, right? So if I go this way, it is 7 miles. If I'm coming back from Newark to Bloomfield College, it should be what? Negative 7 miles. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah, think about it.
because it's like the positive and negatives, right?
But again, don't think about direction. I said what? If I'm going from Bloomfield College all the way to Newark, it's going to be what? 7 miles.
7 miles.
But if I start at Newark and come back, what is the distance? Come on.
-7.
Does that make sense? Now, the distance, whether I go this way or that way, distance is always what?
7.
Always is positive. So absolute value is always positive. In other words, another way to understand it is going to be, let's say now, can you guys see my time over here? 8:59. It says 8:59 a.m., right? So if I go from Bloomfield College all the way to Newark, and it takes me, let's say, from here to here, it takes me 9:20 a.m. So the distance was that, but time-wise, now it is 8:59. By the time I get there, it is 9:20. Then it took me 21 minutes. Does that make sense? But if I come back, it's going to be negative 21 minutes. Does that make sense? No, because whether I go this way or whether I go the opposite way, distance and time is always positive, because I would never recover my time. If I go one direction, if I go 21, if it takes me 21 minutes, when I come back, it should also take me 21 minutes. So absolute value is the absolute value of any number or any value is going to be always positive. So the absolute is always positive. It's never negative. So with that in mind, if I go ahead and say I have a number line, it goes from negative infinity. Whoa, that's too thick. It goes negative infinity and it goes all the way to positive infinity. I am standing at 0. So if I'm standing over here, and this is, if you have to chat, if you can turn on your mic, please let me know what the answer is. If I jump 5 steps, where will I land? I'm standing at 0, and if I jump 5 steps, where would I land? I'm standing right on 0 on a number
Um,
line.
I think you're like going to like the positive side.
Why?
Um, because you said 5 steps, and I'm thinking you're walking forward.
I didn't say that, right? So
Hmm.
since I didn't say that, if I say I'm moving to the right, then +5 will be the answer. Everybody, please follow this one. But if I say I'm jumping 5 steps, then there are two possibilities. I can be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I can be at 5, right? Or I can be on the other side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then my answer can be also what? -5. So since I didn't specify, then I can have two answers. I can be at +5, or I can be at -5. Is this clear? But if I say moving to the right, then the answer would be 5. If I say moving to the left, the answer would be -5. But if I didn't say that, then you have to think of, oh, you can be at 5 or it can be at -5.
It's very
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Everybody, if this is clear, please tell me something.
so I have a
Yes.
question.
Okay, thank
Uh,
you.
so what if it stays 0? Like, is there an answer like, oh, it's gonna be 0? Like, can you move anything?
Um, can you guys hear this? Yeah. So this is like 6, right? If I'm standing at 6 and if I jump 0 steps, would be I would land back at 6. Does that make sense? If this was 0, if I jumped 0 steps, it would be what? It would be 0 back to 0. In other words, I will be at 0 or at 0, which is neutral, which is going to be one answer. But if I'm at 6 and if I jump 3 steps, where would I land? I can land, I think, what, okay. I can land at 9, or I can land, excuse me, I can land at 9, or I can land at 3, because if I'm jumping from 6. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's look at the mathematical way how to solve absolute value equations. Do, do, do. So I have the absolute value sign, equal sign, and whatever the expression. So we have three scenarios. So if A is negative, then it is no solution, because the absolute value of any value is always what? It's positive. So it's never negative. So whatever value that I put, it has to be positive. It cannot come out as a negative. In other words, just to come back a little bit, sorry, I think I skipped that one top portion over here. If I say the absolute value of 5, the answer would be 5. The absolute value of -3 is going to be +3. The absolute value of -1/7, the answer would be +1/7. The absolute value of 0 is 0. The absolute value of, let's go ahead and say x, we don't know, because x, whatever the value is going to be a positive number, or it can be a negative number, depending, but it's always the answer is supposed to be a positive value. So our answer is always, it is a positive number. It would never be a negative number. Whether I plug in a positive number or a negative number is going to be always, the answer is going to be a positive, a positive, a positive. If it is zeros, then there will be zero. But if it is whatever value that we don't know, it's going to be always what? It's going to be a positive number. So if the expression is given and it is equal to a, whatever a value is, then if a is negative, do not waste your time. Automatically, you can say quickly, it is no solution. The next one is, if a is 0, then if somebody jumps 0 steps from whatever, then they're going to land back to wherever they started. Then it's going to be only one solution. Then we have, if a is positive 1 or 2 solution. So what do we do? Given the expression is equal to a being the positive value, then we split the question, 1 for negative a, 1 for positive a. So the way we solve it, it would be drop the absolute value So I solve for the expression. Come on. Expression equals to negative a, or the expression is equal to positive a. So again, don't overthink this. This is way simpler than it looks. So when we start doing examples, it will be way easier. So basically, this is our steps, but let's look at some examples and let's reinforce this. Okay. All right, what do we do? What is A? My A is?
I was gonna say 2x.
A is? The A is 0. Got it? So in other words, I'm going back by this expression. The expression, absolute value, equal to A. Does that make sense?
Okay, wait. So the absolute value is equal to a.
The absolute value of whatever expression equal to A. Got it?
Okay.
So based on this, now we have absolute value of 2x plus 3 equals to 0. So what is A? A is 0.
0.
If it is 0, what do we say over here? If it is 0, then we have what? We have
One solution.
So we drop the absolute value and we solve the problem. So now
Okay.
So we have 2x. Why is not responding? I don't know. Okay. So we focus only on the expression. Then take away 3. Take away 3. It doesn't matter whether I have ugly answer. I don't care. It's going to be 2x is equal to negative 3 divided by 2 divided by 2. Then x is equal to negative 2 negative 3 over 2. Is that the answer? I don't know. Then always with absolute values, no joke, always we have to check. So check your answer. So the reason that we check our answer is the problem that I solved over here was not the original question. I modified it by dropping the absolute value. So of course I'm going to get an answer, but when I check it, the solution, I have to check it with the original problem. So the original problem was given right here, which was 2x, absolute value of 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. I do not know if this is true, question mark. So it was 2, whatever the x value, plus 3, absolute value is equal to 0, another question mark. And then what do we have over here? Negative 2 over negative 3 over 2, sorry, negative 3 over 2. So 2 and 2 cancels. We are negative 3 plus 3 is equal to 0. Then negative 3 plus 3 becomes 0, absolute value of 0. The absolute value of 0 is, careful with this, if the 0 is equal to 0, then that is true. At this time, I'll come over here and say this answer is acceptable. So before you box your answer, always double check if it is the solution by plugging it into the original question.
For checking your answer. Hello? Okay.
Yes, Anderson?
For checking your answer, can you check in a calculator?
Sure.
I mean,
So on our calculator, it would be, depending what type of calculator you have, if it is TI 8384, absolute value is hidden under numbers, under math. On math to the right will be numbers, absolute value. So the question was we have 2x plus 3.
I'm sorry to stop. What number you did for it to be absolute value? The little line that you just did?
Okay, so that one on our calculator.
Yeah, because you did it so quick, I missed it.
Right here, let's turn on the history. All right, the history is, okay, first I press math, right? After math, I go to the right to go to numbers. And apps is the absolute value sign, which is number 1.
Okay.
So it is math to the right, option number 1. Then if you get this template, then we go ahead and write it, which is going to be 2x, but my x is over here. I'm claiming x to be negative 3 over 2, open parentheses, negative 3 divided by 2, close that parentheses, followed by plus 3, enter. If it is a little bit neater, then if you can do your absolute value and especially the fraction, if you can do it using the template, it's better, which is the template is under alpha. So open parentheses, alpha y is the template for fraction. So we have negative 3 divided by 2, and then close that parentheses, plus 3. So again, this is a little bit neater to see. If your calculator can do fractions, then I think you should be able to use this one. And our answer should be 0. So whatever value that I plug in, if I get my answer is 0, then I can go ahead and accept this answer. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, let's go a little bit more that way with time wise. Let's go and do that was example one. Yep. Okay.
Excuse me. This video will be uploaded today, right?
I'm gonna charge you for that if I have to answer that question. Yeah, I should be able to as soon as the Google process the video. I think by noonish definitely should be there. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So example two. So let's go ahead and say 3x. Let's go ahead with a little smaller number. 2x plus 3 absolute value is equal to how many solutions do I have for this?
2.
So what do we say over here? I have three cases, right?
Wait, let me just.
If A
Oops.
is what?
Hold on.
If A is negative, if A is 0, and if A is what?
There's no solutions if A is negative.
It is negative. So if it is negative, do not waste your time. Whatever answer that you get is not going to work because since over here, what do we have? Our A.
Negative.
Okay,
No solutions. Wait, can you go back up to the
okay, hold on.
Okay.
Since A is negative, negative 11. Does that make sense? Which one? The steps, the three steps?
Yeah. With
Okay.
the if A is negative, stuff like that.
So these are you got that one?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So don't waste your time. If it is negative, automatically it is that. No solution. Ah, come on. I can do this. How many solutions? I have 2x plus 3 plus 15 equals to 4. How many solutions?
It's going to be 2 solutions.
Anybody else? USA. There you go. Anybody else? Agree, disagree? I want somebody.
I don't know.
Don't know? Okay. All right. So first thing first, I have to remember it is always, please pay attention, it is first we have the absolute value. Inside we have the expression. Then it is followed by equal to A. So I want you to pay attention to this part. It is always the absolute value is always next to the equal sign. Over here, I have my absolute value over here, and the equal sign is here. So they are not next to each other. So first thing first, before I start to say one solution, two solution, or three, no solution, I have to get rid of this to the other side. So if I take away 15, this will be what? It would be absolute value of 2x plus 3. 15 minus 15 becomes 0. Then we have equal sign. 4 take away 15 would be negative 11. So in other words, I gave you the same question, but written a little bit different, like example number 2. So once I write it this one, now I can see that A is actually what?
No solution.
A negative number. It is no solution. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I said two solutions because on the
I,
picture on the up there it said if plus A is positive, it's two solutions.
I
That's why I
know.
said that.
Remember, like the way I'm trying to show you is this is just to show you the trick questions, right? First one is straightforward. A was negative. We can see it. But sometimes A is not negative the way it is written. So once you try to modify the question, you see that actually it is a negative, then it is a no solution. In other words, just think about, give me a small number. Let's say 1. If I go ahead and plug here 1, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3, it becomes 5. Absolute value of 5 is positive 5. Plus 15 is 20. Is 20 equal to 4? No, false. Even if I pick smaller number, let's go ahead and pick smaller number, 0. 2 times 0 becomes a 0. 0 plus 3 is 3. Absolute value of 3 is positive 3. 3 plus 15 is 18. Is 18 equal to 4? So whatever number that comes outside of the absolute value will always be a positive number, right? Since it's going to be a positive number, plus 15, it will never be equal to positive 4. So even before you simplify it, the best way to simplify it is rewrite the question to see that the absolute value sign is always next to the absolute value sign is next to the equal sign before you say one solution, two solution, or no solution.
Okay.
Gotcha. And let's go moving along. Next example 4. Okay, so let's go ahead with 2x plus 3, absolute value. Now let's go ahead and put positive 11. So at this time, no trick question. My A is positive. So 2 solutions, 1 or 2 solutions. So the way we solve this one is we split the question. One for the positive side, one for the negative side. So on the left, I have 2x plus 3 is equal to 11. Negative 11 would be the negative 11. On the right side, it will be the same value, but for the positive side, it's going to be 2x plus 3 is equal to just positive. So one for the positive, one for the negative. So when I say positive and negative, it is we change the solution over here and over there. In between, we write the word or because it is not going to be 2 answers, it's going to be 1 answer. This might work or that might work, but at the same time, both of them are not going to work because we're not going to plug both of them at the same time. So let's go ahead and simplify and take away 3 equally. On the left, I have 2x negative 14 divided by 2 divided by 2. X is equal to negative 7. I'm not going to box because I have to check my answer later on. Negative 3, negative 3. I have 2x is equal to positive 8 divided by 2 divided by 2. X is equal to 4. So I need to check those answers if they are going to work. If they're going to work, I'm going to accept them. If not, I'm going to reject them. But always double check your answer using the original question. So we're going to do this in using calculator, but for the sake of it, let's go ahead and do by hand. So if I am trying to solve this, let's just be a little bit lazy and copy this. All right, I'm claiming to be x to be -7. I'm claiming x to be positive 4. So we are plugging it into the original question. 2 plus 3 absolute value is equal to 11. I do not know if this is true, so -7. On this side, it would be 2 absolute value plus 3. Close the absolute value sign is going to be 11. Again, we don't know if this is true, so but this time I'm going to plug in 4. On the left side, what do we have? Absolute value, 2 times -7, -14, plus 3. Absolute value is equal to 11. We don't know yet. So -14 plus 3 is going to be -11. Absolute value is going to be 11. Question mark. The absolute value of any number is always a positive. So it's going to be absolute value of -11 will be positive 11 is equal to positive 11. That is true. So one of my answer is x is equal to negative.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Okay, so you know the -11, right?
Mm-hmm.
It changes while we're solving.
The absolute at the end, or there's only one value over here, right?
Yeah, because I know it has to be positive. Like the answer has to be positive.
The absolute value of -11 is positive 11 because the absolute value of any value is what? It is always
Positive.
so
Yeah.
I cannot take it out outside of the absolute value until it's just condensed one value.
Okay.
So on the right side, let's go ahead and see. We have 2, 4 would be positive 8 plus 3, absolute value 11, question mark. We have 8 plus 3 becomes 11, is equal to 11. The absolute value of any number is always positive. So the absolute value of 11 would be 11 is equal to 11. So this is true. So my other answer is also what? Acceptable. So there are two values that are going to be equal to that. Then my answer is going to be that. So
in the end, we still have two solutions.
so we have two answers.
Okay.
What makes the one? What makes? In other words, let me scroll up this way. Right. What makes this statement true? What makes this statement true? Does that make sense? What makes this statement true? When x is equal to -7, it becomes true. Or when x becomes positive 4, it becomes true. So we have two answers. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So if you are trying to solve this using your calculator, not a big deal. Let's go ahead and bring our calculator. Let's clear this one. Math, go to numbers, absolute value. We have what? 2x plus 3, 2. X, I'm claiming to be -7. -7, close that parentheses, plus 3, go outside, plus, press enter. It says when I plug in -7, I get 11. The other answer was 4. Let's go ahead and say math. Go to the right, absolute value. 2 times positive 4, close that parentheses, plus 3. And that is also what? 11. So both answers will give me 11. That will be okay. Not that you have to do this, but if you try to see this using graphing calculator and in a graph way, why we have two answers, absolute values will never be negative. Meaning, as an example, let's say if I graph the absolute value, not that one, the absolute value of 2x plus 3. So 2x plus 3 Okay, so the graph of 2x plus 3, if I graph it properly, y is equal to, it would be like this, right? It's going to be a V shape because the values will never be negative. It's always going to be above the x-axis. The answer is going to be positive values. But what is the number? When are this value is going to be 11? If you want to think about it, so if I say y equals to 11, y is equal to 11 at two places. When x is -7 is going to be 11, and when x is equal to what? 4 is going to be 11. So there are two places where this value is going to be true. It's going to be true when x is -7 and when x is equal to 4. So if you want to think about it using a graphing technique, then this would be the way to do it. But the proper way to solve the problem would be the other way. In another way is if I say, when is this number is going to be negative? It will be never, because when there's no intersection. When it is negative, the graph is always on the bottom and the other graph is above. So this value is not going to have any intersection value over here. It's going to be below. So if it is negative, then it's a no solution. There's no intersection between those two values.
So it's just going to stay positive like forever, right?
It's going to be positive. So if we,
Okay.
I think it was, right, we did what, 11?
11.
If with 11, then we have two answers. Okay, so I know this is going to be in a video, so let me just quickly give you guys one more example, and that way we have enough examples to look at. All right, I don't want to make this like it's going to be that easy always, so but let's look at some example. Let's go ahead and say 4x plus 5 plus 2x is equal to 12. I don't even care what this looks like. Okay, so at this times, is it a is positive, negative, or 0? I can't tell because by looking at this, first thing first I have to look at is going to be absolute value is here and the equal sign is here. So first thing first, this 2x got to go to the other side. If I have to move it to the other side, then what do I have? It's going to be take away 2x, take away 2x. So when I do that, I'm going to end up with the absolute value sign over here. I have 4x plus 5 equals to 12 minus 2x. So this time, I can't tell it is positive, negative, or 0. I can't tell because the variable changed everything. So I have to treat this one as a two solution. And at the end, I have to check whether my answers are going to be accepted or rejected, or one is going to be accepted. I don't know. So I have to treat this one as two equations. So as I said it earlier, one for the positive side, one for the negative. So the positive is going to be simpler. The positive is going to be, we have 4x plus 5 equal to 12, take away 2x, not a big deal. On the left side is going to be the negative of this value. Then it's going to be the negative of 12 minus 2x. So when I rewrite this one, is going to be, I have 4x plus 5, not a big deal, equals to, but this time it's going to be a negative of this, negative of this, negative of that is going to be negative 12 plus 2x. So let's go ahead and put or sign in the between. So on the right side, let's go ahead and simplify. Between the x's, which one is smaller? the one on the right. So let's go ahead and add 2x, get rid of the 5 from this side, the 5 from that side. So I have 4x plus 2x will be 6x is equal to, this is gone, this is gone. 12 take away 5 would be 7 divided by 6 divided by 6. X is equal to ugly 7 over 6. I don't care. It can be an answer. But I'm not going to box my answer because I don't know whether it's going to be true or false. On the left side, again, 2x, 2x, take away 5, take away 5. We end up with, this becomes 2x, this is 0, this is 0, is equal to 12, and that one becomes 17 divided by 2 divided by 2. X is equal to 17 over 2. Again, I do not know whether this is true or false. So again, we can go ahead and plug in using by hand. At the same time, since calculators are allowed, go ahead.
Professor, wouldn't it be negative 17?
Negative 17 right here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody's awake. All right. So we have two answers, but I don't know which one to accept, reject, or both of them can be rejected if it's going to be false. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, one, to begin with, is going to be, I have to look at the original question. And when I'm plugging in, I'm going to use the calculator to the max. The other day I showed you guys how to use the store technique. The store technique was, since it is fractions, one of my answer over here is negative 17 over 2. Negative 17 divided by 2. I'm going to store it in x. So I don't want to write this decimal number. So in the original question, what do we have? Come on, let's go ahead. Our original question was the absolute value of math. Go to the right, absolute value. So we have 4x plus 5. 4x plus 5. Go to the right, and then I have 2x plus 2x. If I press enter, if it gives me 12, I'm going to accept it. If it's not going to be 12, I'm going to reject it. It gives me 12, I'm accepting one of my answers on this side. So since I have this question written like this, I'm not going to go ahead and rewrite the entire thing. All I'm going to do is I'm going to store 7 over 6 was my other answer. So 7 over 6, I'm going to plug it in. 7 divided by 6, whatever the answer is, store it in x. So this ugly decimal number, I'm just going to recall the equation. So this was the equation, which was 4x plus 5 plus 2 and plus 2x. So when x is 7 over 6 or 1.1666 is a 7. So when I plug it in, if it gives me 12, and also this one gives me 12. So based on that, this answer is acceptable. This answer is also what? Acceptable. So tiny error right there over here, that would have thrown us completely off. Thank you for catching that error. So again, use your calculator to the max. If you don't know how to do the store, rewind this video, watch it again, and feel comfortable how to use your calculator. Just as before we close, so technically today, the homework from the other day, which is from Friday, from page 108, 8 to 12, number 29 and 47, is due by noon today. Anything after that, by 2 o'clock, that link will be missing. So make sure you submit your homework before that time. And then this assignment, which is page 141, 29, 31, and 36, actually there's 3 questions only. That one will be due on Wednesday before noon or by noon. If you have any question, I'm listening. If not, I am stopping the video.
I was just gonna ask, can you graph it? The answers we had.
Say it one more time.
Can you just graph the answers we had?
Um, to check, we're using a graphing technique. I didn't understand the question. I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to see if you could graph it.
Now to see, okay, this was our original question, right? 4x
Yeah.
plus 5
Mhm.
plus 2x. So 4x plus 5 outside plus 2x, right? And our answer was we wanted to check if it was 12, if this was equal to 12. So there were two places. You see what the graph looks like? So one of the answer was when 8.5, negative 8.5, that was 17 over 2, negative 17 over 2. And this was 1.667, which was our, what is that, 7 over 6. So these were actually our answers. Does that make sense?
I was just thinking, like, they don't really intersect.
They do. Look at this. See that? Because the solution we are graphing, in other words, we are graphing. So we're going to use two types of cheeses. You've got if you are using the graphing technique to check, come on. So this is what we do when if you are using the graphing technique to check, it will be you take the left side of the equation, you graph it as y1 on your calculator, and the other side of your you graph it as y2. Does that make sense? And then you try to see
Yeah.
you try to see where the two graphs are equal. So if they're equal, means where do they intersect? So where do they intersect? The first one, it was 4x plus 5, absolute value plus 2x. It is this graph, this V-shaped graph. And then y is equal to 12. It is this red graph. So where do the two graphs intersect? The two graphs intersect where? Right here and right there.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, keep on practicing. This should be available by noonish latest.